Again, we'd like to welcome everybody to I guess this is our second annual banquet. We've had cookouts and other events in the past, but I think this is becoming a trend. Everybody liked it last year, so we're doing it again this year. Some folks we'd like to thank. Number one, the parents. Thank you for all your support for the program, because the program don't exist without the parents. As we all know, parents have to do a lot of different things. One of the nice things about your kid graduating is you get off concession stand duty. So some of you can look forward to that. In the case of Scott, yeah, y'all are still there. So we'd like to thank the Diamond Dolls for everything that they do this year. If all the Diamond Dolls could stand up, let's give them a round of applause. A lot of you don't see the things they do in the background, whether it's announcing, scorekeeping, whatever kind of help we can do. I want to thank David Malone for doing the Game Changer app, because when somebody like me travels all the time, I tell people I took last spring off to watch my son play ball, so I had to work this spring. And David's Game Changer app, I was able to keep up with everything that you guys were doing. And when it's green for us, it's good. When it's red for us, it's bad. I got that much figured out. So thank you for that, David. I'd like to thank Paul Henry for all the different articles and stuff he writes about our team. He's covering I don't know how many different sports in the spring, and he always comes through for us. Next thing to talk about is our Lighthouse Classic. Baseball for Lincoln County High School has become an outreach to the community. We started an event 3 years ago. The first year it was called Throw Out Crohn's Disease, because Alex Page, who was a player on the team, had Crohn's disease. And Alex is now a student at that university in Tuscaloosa. The next year we had Austin Murphy Night, which was for St. Jude's. This year we had kind of a double night. I think everybody here knows the story of Kurt Cannon and his injury and really his miraculous recovery. And Coleman High School has a young man named Andrew Winfrey who also had a brain injury, and we basically put the two together when we played Decatur High School, and we raised $4,515 here. I don't have the final numbers from Coleman yet, but their numbers are going to probably be another $1,000 to $1,500. But we're going to do a presentation tonight shortly to Kurt and his family. His contribution is going to go to Scottish Rite's third floor, and I guess that's third floor is where they do all the brain and spinal injuries. And the family is going to present the check to the doctors on the third floor, and one of the things that they're going to recommend that they do with it is buy some more iPads, because the iPad played a big role in Kurt's recovery. So if I could get Kurt to come forward with his family, we'd like to present him a check for $2,500 to Scottish Rite's. Coach will fill you in on the bulk of the future events. The ones that we know of, the summer tryouts, I think are going to be somewhere close to June 21st. Is that still correct? The reason I bring that up is shortly after the tryouts, we'll have our first booster meeting of the new year and elect officers for next year. So most of us, I guess, will agree to do this another year or so. I know I will. The alumni game is going to be June 22nd. We're getting a lot of interest in the alumni game, and I think you can explain it later, Coach, but I think he's going to have two separate games, one for some of the younger alumni and then one for some of the older alumni. Coach can go over his camps. The annual golf tournament will be August 24th, and it'll be here. That does not conflict with opening day for any college football team. So we hopefully will have a big crowd again on the 24th. And it's been a very successful fundraiser for us in the past. Next, I'm going to have Coach Tate come up and talk about his players and all district and some other things. One thing that all of you need to know that have a child playing for Coach Tate, he comes up big for them after they graduate if they need them. I had a situation, school situation, where my son needed help from Travis, and within 24 hours he had it as far as a recommendation so he could transfer from Tennessee Tech to the University of Tennessee, and he did it without reservation and did it in a hurry, and we were able to get him transferred to Tennessee. So and I told him that was the end of the transfers, but anyway, we got that far. So Coach Tate.
All right. First, I want to thank everybody for coming out. We won't be too long-winded tonight. It's a little different atmosphere than the kickoff banquet, as well it should be. Tonight we want to point out the good things we did, and toward the end we'll point out some of the things we need to work on. But for the majority reason we're here is to see these seniors off. Kind of see them off, recognize those guys and their accomplishments and their hard work they've given to our program, and make sure that they're sent off on the right foot that they deserve. I'll start with the Diamond Dolls, and I'm going to mention 5 of these girls apparently have spent a substantial amount of time making some booklets. You want to give me one? I don't think I need this thing. Maybe I will. They've made some photo booklets for each senior. One girl adopted, I guess you could say, might be the right word, a certain senior, and throughout the course of the season collected pictures, and if you get an opportunity to look through one of these before you leave, do so, because they're really in detail, and these ladies spent a substantial amount of time on them for these guys, and it's something that right now they may look at it and say, oh, scrapbook, at 18, but at some point, if they put these things away, we all know that how valuable they'll be. The girls that Caleb Smith's Diamond Doll, I guess you could say, was Lauren Bevels. Brady Owens was Samantha Hovis. Shockingly enough, Riley McCowan's was Mackenzie Watson. Dylan Hudgens was Lauren Lee. And Zach Harwell was Carly Shelton. If y'all don't mind, give these ladies a hand for the time they spent doing this. Okay. They're just going to pass them out amongst the crowd. All right, I'll start with just going over the season as a whole. Obviously, the season was successful. Second most wins in school history. I don't feel real good about that, to be honest with you. I felt like we were good enough to do better. We challenged them with a really hard schedule, probably the hardest schedule schools played. I think 10 of our losses, maybe more, if you count the last Columbia loss, was to teams either ranked in the top 10 in the state of Alabama or top 10 in the state of Tennessee. So they were challenged, but with that being said, even playing those teams, there were a lot of winnable baseball games that we didn't win, in my opinion. I didn't think we played well until late. And one thing we're going to have to do over the course of the summer, which we've already started a little bit, is, evaluate where we went wrong there, whether it be from a mental standpoint, and I really think it just took some guys a while to get going. It's odd, but we had some guys that came out early and struggled and got going later, and if we'd have come out full force, I think this is a 36-37 win team. I really do, but it is what it is. We didn't. Now that's not to say the season was a failure by any means. I think we finished probably right where we should have. In all honesty. We're probably the 3rd best team in our district this year. I think that. I think that's probably fair. If the format's a little bit different, I don't mind saying that I think we beat Columbia in a 2 out of 3. But with their big guy on the mound, they're pretty good. And And when we had to play him there in the tournament, he was a guy we had to beat, and he was pretty good that day. So, baseball to me shouldn't be a 1-7 inning. Best out of 3 is the route we're trying to push it as a district. But that's not making any excuses about it. I mean, with the Sheffield kid on the mound for Tullahoma and Stone, we probably are the 3rd best team in the district, and that's where we finished. That's where we finished in the tournament. So, that being said, I've played in this district before, guys, 5 years, and I'm telling you, it's the strongest I've ever seen it. This year was the best I've ever seen District 8 AAA as a whole, and if it would have been a normal year, I think this team wins it. I mean, they're as good as, in my opinion, they're as good as the team we had and went to the state tournament. The district was just a little stronger. It was a little stronger than it's been in the past. You face 2 kids, and we've got one ourselves in Caleb, but, these kids don't realize, especially the young ones that was in the lineup, I mean, they face kids that you're going to see pitching. Those of you that went to Hoover this past week will see towing the mound at Hoover in the SEC tournament. I mean, those kids can pitch. The Sheffield kid, I've had scouts tell me they think he's major league ready right now. I don't know that I agree with that, but he's pretty good. 94 to 96 with a changeup and a curveball. And, I mean, if you've played the game, I think we're spoiled a little bit right now because we see it so much. I mean, we had 3 kids within a 30-mile, well, I exaggerate, 30-mile radius, 40-mile radius, throwing 95, 94 miles an hour with Caleb and the 2 Sheffields, and then you throw Stone in there, and you got kids at 5. I mean, when I was in high school, I don't know that there was 6 kids in the southeast that threw 94. We had that many of them in this small of an area, so it was. The pitching, they say the pitching class this year as a senior class as a whole across the country was down. That's certainly not the case, in Tennessee and around this area. So, I was proud of the way our guys competed. I thought they learned a lot, and I think we have an idea of where we want to go from here. And I won't get into the futures and all that. I'll just tell you I'm really excited about it. I mean, we've got a lot of young kids that are talented. I went and watched our 12U group this weekend, and I don't know. I think they hit 13 home runs or something like that in the tournament they were in. Finished 2nd, and I watched them go back to back to back to back in one game. So I mean, the talent coming up is really good if we as a coaching staff do our job of developing where they should be. You parents have done phenomenally. I mean, the support you guys have given us, and not only with concession stands and with sending emails and with running the books and with, there's countless things there that I don't even see you do, probably that you do to make this all run as smooth as possible. And don't think it may be overlooked at times, but it's not unappreciated. If I overlook it, I don't mean to. I really don't. Going forward from here, I really want the seniors. I'm gonna talk about them individually, but I stand by the statement that I made at the kickoff banquet. They are still the best senior class I've ever coached. I mean, it's by far. I mean, tremendous group of young men. If this senior class has a knock, and we've talked about this as a group, on the one thing we wanted to change going in the summer, we talked about it again today, was they may be too nice. In all honesty, if that's even a knock, I'm just saying if I say a knock, if they have one, that may be it. I've told our team that the big change we had to make was that I think this group showed them exactly what to do in the classroom, showed them exactly what to do as far as preparing in the off season, how to practice hard. I mean, there's no complaints from my end there, and how to play the game hard. They played their tails off during the game. But as a group, I thought we went out every game and said, okay, we play the game hard, and boy, I sure hope we win today. That was what it kind of felt like our mentality was. We got to find a little more edge than that if we're going to be good. And there's nothing wrong with what I'm not saying I don't want our kids to act right off the field. That's not what I'm saying. But as a group, you've got to have a little more edge. It's not good enough just to play hard and hope it turns out for you. There's a different mindset there. It's other than, hey, here we are, come and get it kind of thing. We've just got to find that happy medium between being what you're supposed to be off the field, doing what you're supposed to do in the classroom, but there has to be a mental switch there that clicks on at some point when the lights come on. And it's okay to be a little nasty during that 2 hours. It's okay to have a little edge to yourself. So, that group has been great, phenomenal. Can't ask for any better. And I'm going to start by going through them one at a time as their senior awards, and I'll say a little bit more about them. But I want to thank them as a group again because I'm really close with this group. I really have. We've kind of grown close because it's a small group, 4 or 5 of them, and they're phenomenal. I've said it before. They're great kids. If my son turns out like them, and that's the best compliment I can give you, I'm telling you, I would be thrilled. Whether he can pitch, catch, throw, hit, it doesn't matter. These kids do the right thing. I'm not going to say I'm not around them all the time, so I'm sure they don't do the right thing all the time, but it's probably 95% of the time. They do. They're really phenomenal. But I'll start by introducing them one at a time. Zach Harwell. I'm gonna talk about Zach a little more here in a minute, but Zach came to me over the summer and asked if he could just pitch. I just want to PO. That's what I want to focus on doing. I never had a kid come to me and ask just to pitch before. We've made them just pitch before. But he came to me and asked and probably embraced it better than any kid I've ever coached. And I think 70% of us in this room, if I would have told you Zach would be pitching college baseball next year this time last year, you would have thought that's probably not going to happen. But he worked his ever-loving tail off. He really did. And put himself in position, ability-wise, to go and get the opportunity that he's got, which I'm sure most of you know by now, but he signed with Tennessee Wesleyan to go pitch for them next year. And that's a well-deserved opportunity by him because he's a tremendous young man and works his butt off, great teammate. And I could go on and on, but he's just as good as the rest of them. He really is. Brady Owens, did he make it tonight? Hudge. Dylan Hudgens. He's great. He really is. He's a lot smarter than he lets on. Looking at his ACT score and grade. Always got that smile on his face. Works as hard as any kid I've ever had. I don't think he had the year he wanted, but it sure wasn't from lack of effort. I think he had a good year personally, but I know his goals were so high going in. I know he struggled with it at times, but he is a great young man. And to be honest with you, if I had to go and look ahead of 5 years from now and say, okay, which one of these is most likely to be a guy I hung out with? Probably gonna be Hutch. He really and truly, he reminds me a lot of the guys I hang out with, a lot of my friends, and he's a great friend, great teammate. He's going to be successful. Right now, we're working on a few things for him to play college baseball that are taking a little longer than I wanted, but we're going to find him somewhere to play. He's too good and works too hard not to get the opportunity, and he's going to get the opportunity. We just hadn't nailed it in stone yet. But tremendous young man, great friend. He'd be that guy that if you called, said, hey, I'm in Nashville and I have a flat tire and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, would not shock me if he got in the truck and drove to you. Really would. He's a tremendous guy and I'm going to miss him a ton. Riley McCowan. Mackenzie, if you need to walk him up here, you can. Riley was selected as one of our captains this year, and he held true to form on that. Model, I mean, really model. I mean, I'm going to tell you, he does everything right. Tremendous talent, everything right in the classroom. Acts the way he should on and off the field, works hard, all that good stuff. Riley's going to go play at Volunteer State Community College. He's going to have some pressure on him. They're really expecting him to step in and make an impact early, and I think if he does what he's supposed to do this summer, he'll go in and have every opportunity to do that. But he did a great job for us this year. It was a great job for us last year. It's tough on him because we moved him from a spot he was really comfortable in the outfield, which is where he's going to play, to the infield, and I think he handled that well. I mean, that's a tough move. It really is, and he did a good job. Never said, "Well, hey, coach, I'm real comfortable in the outfield." And it'd been easy for him to say, "Hey, look, I signed as an outfielder. I need to play the outfield." He never said that. Had to play third, second, short, pitch, outfield a couple times. And that's a tough thing as a 18-year-old kid to not take fungos for 3 months in the outfield, and all of a sudden coach says, "Hey, you're in right." I know he's a good enough athlete to handle that, and he did. But I know that's got to put a little stress on you. He never, not one time, complained about anything I ever asked him to do as a captain and I put a lot on him and Caleb this year. I really did. I put a lot on them from a practice organization standpoint. Put a lot on them behind the scenes that these other kids didn't see, and they both handled it really well and did everything they could to try to make it. The intensity level of practice or whatever we had talked about in the office. There's a lot of times just me, him, and Caleb would have meetings about certain situations or what we needed to change, and they did a good job of doing that without trying to act like they're here, which is easy to do as a captain sometimes. I'm a captain, do it because I said so. I really think they went in and tried to manipulate it and get what we needed to get done without having that above you approach a lot of times. And it worked really good for us. But we're going to miss him dearly. Big contributor for 2 years. And, watch for him. You're going to see great things. Future Dr. Riley McCowan. Caleb Smith. Caleb accidentally left his, what do you call them? Jorts. Yeah, he was going to wear his jorts tonight, which, if y'all haven't seen them, it's a spectacle. Some cut-off jeans about right there, but I think they were dirty, so he didn't wear them. Kind of the same. You're in the same situation with him and Riley. It's not a shock to me that those two kind of, struck a bond there friendship-wise when he came over because they're a lot alike. They're a lot alike. They both work really hard. They both do things right in the classroom. So it didn't surprise nor shock me that happened. Caleb signed with MTSU. They made the jump to Conference USA, which means he's going to be expected to step in next year and be a big contributor to, in my opinion, the third best, arguably, maybe higher than that, but at least third best baseball conference in the country in Division I. I hope he gets to toe the rubber against Rice next year. I was telling his mom that would be a big deal, and I'm going to do everything I can to fly out and watch that if he gets to do it in Houston, because that's a big program, and he will. He'll do fine because every coach that recruited him, scout-wise or Division I coach, and you can ask anybody that was around, first thing out of my mouth was, I've never had one that was driven quite like this one is. And, he's very obsessed, I guess, is a good word, to get better, and that's a good obsession. And I think that's why me and him probably hit it off as well as we did from a coach-player standpoint, because I'm a lot like that, as far as really obsessed with, watching film on things and trying to keep learning and trying to get better. And we've had a lot of good conversations about pitching, about, I know when he first come over, I think he was crow hopping, 102? Crow hopping 102, and we were getting 86, 87, 88 every now and then off the mound. And me and him had conversation after conversation on how can we generate 102 on a crow hop, and why is it not coming off the mound? And we watched film, and they came over to the house. Him and Riley did at one point, and we watched Roger Clemens on YouTube, and trying to figure out where the body was doing different from the crow hop and where his body was coming off the mound. And I don't really know what the answer was, but he figured it out. Because he had the best pitching performance I may have ever seen a kid have against Houston High School this year. And it's not like we were playing the School of the Blind. I mean, that's they're legit, and to strike out 18 of them, and we made it, I think, a time and a half through the order without throwing anything but a fastball. You're throwing it a little bit. If you can go to a top-notch 3A team and throw fastballs by them for a time and a half through the order before they ever center one up. I think he was 93, 94 that night. But there toward the end of the year, shockingly enough, I thought his velocity was down a little bit in the district tournament. I thought it was the best game he threw all year. He was 88 to 90, I think, which, he'd been 92, 93, but, now all of a sudden his slider was snapping off 4 or 5 more inches, and he was really commanding the fastball and was throwing his 12-6 with command. And I was sitting in the dugout, and Jake was the first time Jake called pitches, and Jake did a great job with him as well, but he was really carving guys up. I mean, he wasn't ripping it by him. He was carving it up, and at the next level, that's what he's going to evolve into. Is because if you went to the SEC tournament, I saw 3 cats this weekend in 2 games break 100. 3 different kids in 2 games in the SEC tournament. Several pitching 97 to 99. And when they threw 99 in there, it was getting turned around more than it wasn't. There was one kid hit one probably 600 feet, and they're hitting scuds back up the middle, and I'm just over there thinking, are you kidding me? This kid just hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball like it was coming in at 75. So he's going to make another velocity jump. It's coming. It wouldn't shock me if he ends up a 97 to 99 guy. But I think when he learns to do what he did there at the district tournament with that pitch, then he's really going to be involved in one of the best pitchers in the country, I think, is what you're waiting to see. And I have no doubt with MTSU's work ethic and his together, they're going to pull off something special. But we're going to miss him, and good luck to you. All right, we had 4 players make all-district this year. They all had great years. I mean, I could talk about them individually, but they all had great years. We'll start with our seniors since I've already spoke about them. First one, Caleb, back up. Riley. Dylan Hudgens. And the last one I will speak a little bit about because he's a junior. Zach Malone. But before you clap for him, Zach did exactly what I thought Zach was going to do on the mound. I mean, he was really good, and I knew he was good, and I knew he was going to do what he did. I mean, that wasn't shocking to me. But to do what he did and play shortstop is a lot harder to do than you think. I mean, it really is. It's a tough thing to do, and it takes a lot of work in between starts. It takes a lot of work taking care of your arm, making sure the arm care stuff happens, the weighted balls and the Twizzlers and all that good junk. You have to really remain disciplined to play that spot, which is arguably the most demanding spot defensively on your arm, maybe other than catcher or pitcher. And to go and pitch a Tuesday night in a district and on Wednesday be asked to go play shortstop, a lot of people, because you see it all the time in Babe Ruth, or Little League or whatever, a lot of y'all just kind of shake it off as it is what it is. You pitched last night. It's a really hard thing to do. It really is. And it early in the year, you don't see it as much, but I do think it affects a kid's arm late in the year. Not a damage it standpoint, but I think it's tired. And I've never seen a kid be able to do it and not lose velocity a little bit by the time the postseason rolls around. What Zach was able to do in the postseason was he did lose his velocity a shade from what he was throwing early in the year. But because he understands how to pitch, and he really does a good job of using his two-seam and tunneling up his slider and those things, he's just as good at 83, 84 as he is 86, 89. I mean, he really is. Arguably, against some of those teams, he may be better and harder to hit at that lower velocity. So don't underestimate what you saw him do, because it really is a hard thing to do. I played middle infield, and I did not pitch. And to be able to make some of the throws he made defensively after coming off 115 pitches, 100 pitches, 90 pitches is pretty impressive. Not to mention, he probably surprised me more this year at the plate than any kid I've ever had. Okay, I really thought. I mean, I knew he wasn't just that he could hit a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying I thought he was bad, but I think I don't know where he ended up, and I know there toward the end of the year he was around 330, 335, somewhere around there, and that he really was consistent with his stroke at the plate and did exactly what we needed him to do. He didn't go up there and try to be too big. He didn't go up there and try to play outside his game. He just simply spread out, put barrels on baseballs, and was productive for us. And to me, that was really impressive. I thought he stepped up all the way around this year. And I don't see why, you're not looking at the best pitcher in the district next year beside Mr. Sheffield. If he does what he's supposed to do in off season, and we do what we're supposed to do at the plate, this kid shouldn't lose another high school game if we can get better in other spots. So, tremendous worker, deserves it, had a tremendous year. We don't do MVP awards. We don't do best hitter awards. We don't do all that jazz. I don't believe in it, so that's why you don't see it. I thought our pitching staff was great all the way around. And this year, if you would have had to give a pitcher of the year award, I don't really know who you give it to. I mean, you could argue 2 or 3 of them. Hudge is raising his name. And on the one start he got, nasty. Okay, he was nasty. Granted, you were playing a team that hit like .57 or 0.57 as a team. And the coach told me before the game, I said, I'm throwing my catcher because I'm tired of hearing him say he wants to pitch. So we're going to put him on there, and when he walks the bases loaded, I'm going to get him. And Chase Jones, the coach at Grundy, looked at me and said, if you're trying to prove a point to him, my team is not the team you want to throw him against, because he's fixing to look like Cy Young. And I said, no, he'll, and sure enough, I think he struck out, you remember, Dave, 10, something 9, breaking balls nasty. He's throwing fastballs by him, looking over at me after every strikeout like I told you, I should have been here all year. But anyway, back on we got one more award. Beginning of the year, we talked about the Rise Above Award, and we were going to give it to a player that exceeded expectations. Both on the field, off the field, and I tried to take everything into account. And I don't. How much? The scholarship. $1,000 scholarship attached to it, and it didn't have to be a senior. 1 year, yeah, 1 year. And the more I thought about it, I'll be honest with you, it came down to 2 kids for me. Okay, it came down to Zach Malone, and it came down to Zach Harwell. And for me, those were the 2 kids that I thought played above what I expected them to do going into the year. And you could make an argument for either one of these kids. I mean, you could. I couldn't make a wrong choice either way. I ended up choosing Zach Harwell. And the reason I did that was because of what he brought to our team that never was in the stat book at all. I mean, as a PO, you don't get to play on a daily basis. You just don't get to do it, But he brought the same amount of energy every day. He wasn't a PO in the sense that a lot of times POs they're kind of on their own schedule because I forget about them half the time, right? So when we're taking fungos or hitting BP, they tend to sneak off into the dugout and not do anything. He wasn't that guy. He was doing something, whether it was hitting fungos or throwing his bullpen, or taking extra long toss, or working on his pick move, or what. He was doing something. It wasn't just a lay-around time for him. And I thought the way he handled himself as a senior, being in the spot he was in, was tremendous. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm really saying this a little bit because I don't want to sound wrong. At the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, his junior year, I really questioned how much Zach wanted to be out there, to be honest with you. He just didn't it's like he never really was locked in. He never really was all in. I never got that. This year, matured more than any kid I've ever seen over a summer. Okay? And when I say matured-wise, I don't know what he did in the locker room. He may have been giving wedgies. I don't know. Okay? But what I'm talking about, the way he handled himself mentally was the biggest flip in a kid I've seen to this point. I mean, he was locked in all the time. He really was. He was asking constantly, what I need to do to go play here, what I need to do to go play there. Do I need to get this better? I need to get that better. And he really because of that, put himself in position to do what he's going to do at Tennessee Wesleyan. If he doesn't make that mental switch, okay, and go all in the way he did from a velocity standpoint and from a learning to pitch standpoint and all the way around, he's not going to get that opportunity. And there was no point this year I ever questioned whether Zach was in or not. Ever. Okay? He was all in. Even when he did pitch, he was all in. When he didn't pitch, he was all in. Tremendous teammate. Never pouted. Never felt sorry for himself. And there's times when we couldn't we? This year. He had a couple of rough spells. Okay? Where I know he really rode himself, but he bounced back. We handed him the ball again. And, he came through and kind of matured and really and truly only two. I think his first start of the year, it would have been real easy to throw his crap in the river and say, I'm done with it. I worked this hard. And he didn't do that. He got multiple opportunities and got better every game and ended up pitching some really big spots for us in some really big moments. And he's shown flashes of being really good. He's got one of the best changeups I've seen when it's working. Hey, and if he can couple that running arm side and then get his slider tunnel and going glove side and locating his fastball, he can definitely do some damage in the NAIA. So this year's Rise Above Award, he will get a plaque for his recognition, and the plaque here has got his name on it. It will go in the front of the school office for years to come. But this year, Austin Murphy Rise Above Award goes to Zach Harwell. All right, and I won't hold you much longer. My son's playing t-ball, so I get home and hear the highlights. But kids are working hard. They're going to continue to work hard. I'm going to ask you to continue your support. I hope, seniors, as you move forward, I hope you, if you don't see it now, I hope at some point you see the little things we're trying to teach you along the way from a work ethic standpoint, whether that's changing your body to go play college baseball, whether that's working hard in the weight room, whether that's doing what you're supposed to in a classroom, whether that's taking care of responsibilities after field work, whatever it may do, all the little silly stuff, okay, that you think silly. I hope you see beyond baseball at some point, because at the end of the day, we really are trying to give you something of a foundation to go on, to go forth and learn through. And a lot of classes, be honest with you, every class I've had, there's always 2 or 3 kids I worry about when they leave. Like worry, he's really not ready for that, or what's he going to do with this freedom? What's this going to happen? I can honestly look in your eye and tell you, I'm not worried about this group. I'm really not. For the first time, they're going to go off and go to school and do what they're supposed to do. I don't think you parents have to worry about that. I think they're all shown the discipline to study when they need to study. I think they've all shown the discipline to go take care of what they're supposed to take care of on the baseball field. And I'm sure they're going to go and be college kids and things, but I don't think this group is going to participate in the things that could be detrimental both to their future, whether that be athletically, academically, or anything else. I don't think this group, it would absolutely shock me if I hear otherwise, and I don't think we will. I think this is the first time I can send 4 or 5 kids off in a whole class and say, we're going to look at something special there in 5, 6, 10 years, whether that be engineer, doctor, lawyer, whatever they decide they want to do, they're all perfectly capable of doing that. And I think that is as much a compliment to you parents as it is to them. So let's give the senior parents a hand, because if I can do as well as they've done, I'm not going. If y'all have seen my kid at the park, I am not doing so well right now. But if I hope I get better. The only other thing I will say, tryouts are June 21st. Next booster meeting, they said, will be after tryouts. I'm not going to go over my camps and stuff. Y'all know how that works. If you have any questions there, you can ask me. Alumni game. We are going to play alumni game. I had a lot of us old farts didn't like the fact that we had to face 87 and 91 last year in the alumni game. So we've created 2 divisions. We have the young division and the old fart division. So if any of you guys know anybody that has participated in the past and been a part of the program, we're really wanting to get that going. Right now it looks like we could possibly make over $6,000 on it. It looks like we got 2 teams of 14 right now in the young division, and it looks like 2 teams of 14 if everybody confirms in the older division. And there's that way. Then everybody complained about the doubleheader too. It was too much. They was done by then. So we're going to play 1 7-inning game, and the other group plays each other a 7-inning game, and then we're going to get together for a little reception afterwards so everybody can catch up, because that's what they wanted to do anyway. Was talking to dugout and things like that. So if you know anybody that would like to participate in that, we want to bring those guys back, because that's one of the things we have that's special here that a lot of places don't have, is that you have a small town environment, and there's something that can be created with that a bigger school can offer. It's something to it. When you get a big town or a big school that has a lot of move-ins, people transferring in for business or doing this and that, you never create. And we at Grissom, we were fortunate. We had almost a small town environment in a big town. But there's other schools in Huntsville, and I won't mention their names because there's a video camera back there. But there's other schools in Huntsville that can't create that environment because there's no homegrowns. There's no attachment to the school. There's none. I move in for business, I move out. I move in for business, I move out. There's always talent, but there's never a connection with the program. There's never a connection with the school. Here we have the opportunity to grow on that, and I think we're headed in that direction. But it's important to me to get these guys back if they played, and to recognize them and let them have a good time. And us, it doesn't matter if you're 40 or 30 or 18. I think creating an environment every year where those guys can get together, can talk about things, can reminisce, how good I was or whatnot. You know how it goes. I think that can be special, down the road. And I'm a little selfish, because there's nothing I like. I'll be honest with you. There's nothing I like better than seeing players 8 years down the road. I really do. I enjoy it more than anything. Coming to my house for dinner or whatever. So this is selfish for me, because I've got about 30 to 40 players coming back into playing this thing, and just being around them for a weekend is going to be a big deal. For me, it'd be a lot of fun. So if y'all know anybody that has played or would like to participate, we won't even make them play a certain position. I've had a ton of them come and tell me, say, look, I'm hitting, but then there has to be a guy standing beside me to run. I'm not running to first. So we've even said we'll do that, just because it'd be funny. We'll have it like tag, you're it, go. So we're open to whatever. We just want to get people involved with it, and have a good time doing it. But I don't have anything else. Thank you, seniors. Thank you, everyone else. You're not as important as the seniors yet. Thank you, parents, especially senior parents. I want to thank Mike, thank Martha Jo. She put a lot of work in this year, and everybody else. I don't want to leave anybody out, but David did a ton with the books, etc. So thank all of you. It really takes everybody to make it work. One more thing, this summer, please bear with me, okay? I know it's a little hectic. I promise you it's hectic in my house too, okay? We've got 3 teams running. I've got coaches changing schedules on a daily basis, calling, wanting to change this, change that. We got 17U and 15U that you see, and then we have a 14U that we're running as well. So I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what's happening next Thursday, okay? I haven't gotten that far. On Sunday night, I sit down and I say, okay, who plays at home and who plays away? Because somebody plays every day. In a couple of days, all 3 teams are playing. All right? Do we have umpires? Do we have rides? Do we have this and that? I'm taking that on a week-to-week basis. So if you call me and say, what are we doing on June the 18th? I don't know. Okay? Look at the schedule. And if it says that for now, it may change. All right? If you can't be there, it's summer ball. I understand. If you've got vacation, go on vacation. Okay? We have more than 9 players. All right? If you've got a family reunion, go on the family reunion. It's fine. Okay? It's summer ball. Nobody's going to yell at him. I'm probably not going to say, yeah, Johnny, go. I'm probably going to make a smart comment like, sure, John Doe behind you would love for you to give him that opportunity. Okay? And then walk off. He's just going to have to learn how to take that. All right? That's not me being mean, but it's the truth, isn't it? We go for 3 weeks, and then we're done. So if you have to go on a trip or something like that, by all means, he's not going to be punished for going on a trip. Okay? But somebody else will get the opportunity that day. Just that's the nature of it. Okay? Thank you. If you need me for anything, let me know.
Just a couple of things. Afterwards, we're going to take a picture with the Cannon family. David did make it out of traffic here. Take pictures of the seniors and pictures of the all-conference. Just a couple of things from my standpoint. The Lighthouse Classic next year. I think a lot of you know that one of our own is dealing with some medical issues now, but the Lighthouse Classic next year is going to be breast cancer awareness. The first pitch is going to be thrown out by Martha Jo McCullough. So she needs to get loose and get ready to throw that pitch. Neither pitch this year hit the ground before the catcher, okay? To the guys who have been fishing at my cabin, I sent them specific instructions one day to weed eat and then fish. Well, a weed eater, you do like this, okay? A fishing rod's this. Now, you never know who's watching. So Wheeler McCullough and Tristan Norman are the 2 that have done the most weed eating. So they're the ones that the rest of you need to learn from when the fishing starts back up again. So I could not applaud the choice of Zach Harwell anymore. I guess I've known Zach since he was about 4 years old. My favorite story this year, number one, I want to thank Brian for being the announcer. But we were videoing, and Brian was showing me how to do the video. He said, get home plate and pitcher. And I was a little challenged with it. And I don't know, did Zach walk the bases loaded? Yeah. Brian said, Mike, don't worry about it much longer. He's not going to be out there much longer. But I think he wound up pitching 6 innings. And one of the things that I always say is great, both in sports and in business, is the ability to make a comeback. The ability to make a comeback from where you are right now. I'm not going to give you guys a long speech. That'll come in February. But having the ability to come back from mistakes and from small-time failures. Keep coming back. And that's what I saw with Zach this year, was he just kept coming back, and I couldn't applaud him more. We start our cycle again in June of raising money to support our program. We've got a lot of good fundraisers. The alumni game is going to be a big deal. We really see that as being another fundraiser. I think, Travis, by the way, Colton's team won. I checked with Julie a while ago, so I told her you were still talking. So anyway, yeah, well, I hadn't checked the phone. It may be on the phone. But anyway, we'll start this cycle again, and we'll make this program successful like it has been the past several years. And winning 45 games in 2 years, when the 2 years before we won less than 20 total, that's a good building block. And obviously our expectations are high for next year. And thank y'all again. And don't forget, we're going to do some pictures up front here at the end.